Well, hi again, folks. I'm Greg Flynn, the Public Information Director here with the City of Pearl. And on this week's edition of This Week in Pearl, we have something very special for you, an extended sit-down conversation with the Speaker of the Mississippi House, Mr. Philip Gunn. He'll be joined by Representative Gene Newman, our very own distinguished gentleman here from the City of Pearl. It's a fascinating conversation that you'll want to pay attention to, especially when it comes to the elimination of the state income tax. Speaker Gunn is carrying the flag into next session to try and eliminate the state income tax here in the state of Mississippi. Plus, he'll touch on a plethora of other topics. We will speak with the Speaker right after this.
Hello, I'm Mayor Wyndham, and I'm thrilled to show you the city creating its own future. Pearl is located in Rankin County, the fastest growing county in Mississippi, and there's no question why. Access to great schools, even better shopping, and unbridled beauty make Pearl a town that truly embodies its name. And with a truly exceptional team of first responders, public safety is another key component of our success. With fantastic housing opportunities from quaint suburban neighborhoods to gorgeous lakefront properties, there's a place for you here in Pearl. You can't beat the location. Right outside of Pearl is the crossroads of the South, where Interstate 20 meets Interstate 55. From here you can travel anywhere within the state or the country. Or you can choose to stay right here in Pearl to enjoy a Mississippi Braves baseball game or experience the small town atmosphere, community pride, and heart of the local residents.
All right, as we kick off This Week in Pearl, we're going to go under the dome over at the state capitol, and we are blessed. We have got political royalty here in with us today, and that is the Speaker of the House. That is Mr. Philip Gunn. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Well, and we have to thank our Representative Gene Newman, who helped facilitate this to bring what is in essence your boss over at the state capitol.
He's a very good boss too.
Well, thank you. That's mighty kind of you. Privileged to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, first I'm going to get this out of the way. You know, this guy, he's a little long in the tooth and gray haired, but when it comes to politics, he's still kind of a rookie in his sophomore season. How is Representative Newman doing?
Well, let me just say he's done a fantastic job in his first two sessions down at the Capitol. He's proven himself to be a man of wisdom. He has picked up on the negotiations and the processes fairly quickly. Been a tremendous supporter of the things we're trying to do at the Capitol. He's been an outstanding representative for Pearl, Mississippi, and the people of Pearl should be proud to have him. He's a man of character, first and foremost, which is important to me. And he is a man of, he works hard and he understands the issues and does a fantastic job. I'm proud to work with him.
Well, we certainly know that the late Ray Rogers was very proud of this man.
Yes, Ray was very complimentary of Gene, and when Ray decided to retire, he told me, he said, this is the guy you want. And Ray and I were pretty close, and in fact I was privileged to speak at his funeral. I was asked to make some comments there. And Ray was also one who was a great representative for Pearl, a good friend of mine, and when Ray said Gene was the man, that's all I needed to hear, and I'm glad he got elected, and we certainly enjoy having him at the Capitol.
Well, he and Senator Kirby have done an outstanding job of working state government to help the city of Pearl and Rankin County as a whole. A couple of big projects we want to thank you for as we really see them going into their fruition now. The West Rankin Parkway out here, which will connect Pearson Road eventually to Lakeland Drive through Treetops. The East Metro Parkway, which will take you from Dogwood at Lakeland all the way to I-20 at Crossgates, over there in that city we don't like to talk about over to our east. And then the Pearl-Richland Intermodal, the new bridge that's going to go over the train tracks at South Pearson, will not only open up economic development, but for public safety with those train tracks, and you guys have been instrumental in helping fund those.
Well, and we're proud to be able to do that too. Pearl is an integral part of the state of Mississippi. The revenues that are generated here go a long way towards helping us do the things that we do at the Capitol. Pearl and Rankin County in general, growing areas, a lot of population, a lot of business interests over here, and those are some of the main arteries that you mentioned that are high traffic areas. We want to be able to do what we can to help Pearl grow, help Rankin County grow. So we're privileged to be able to do those projects.
A lot of similarities, I think, to your home area on the west side of the interstate as you go Clinton and Rankin County. A lot of similarities with so much room for growth, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Clinton is a town of about 25,000 people, home of Mississippi College, which is the oldest college in the state of Mississippi. A lot of people don't know that. Continental Tire has now come online there. Some other businesses are coming to that area. And so it too is a growing area. We want to make sure that all those areas that are growing have the infrastructure that they need and the support from the state, the workforce that they need to grow and bring jobs and industry and prosperity to those regions.
Not a lot that you can do about it, but man, if you could get Highway 49 work moving down there, I'd like to see, in our lifetime, I'd like to see that finished.
That has been a source of great disappointment, I guess, maybe is the best word, and frustration. I will tell you that I don't remember when the road wasn't being worked on, Gene, I'm telling you.
It's been so long.
And I'll tell you kind of a humorous story. When we had the flag issue last year, we received a lot of submissions for state flags. One of the submissions was the bright yellow color that the highway workers wear with the gray stripes on it. And the person said, "This is my suggestion for a new state flag. It honors the brave men and women of MDOT who've been working on Highway 49 South for the last 30 years.
You honestly have to give yourself an extra hour if you're going to the coast, because you can get to Hattiesburg as fast from Florence to Hattiesburg than you can from I-20 to Florence.
Yes.
Depending on the time of day.
And setting all joking aside, I had to go down to, where did I go the other day? Some south towards, I had to go to Simpson County. That's where I had to go. And it was a 6 o'clock meeting that I had to be there for. And someone told me, they said, you need to leave at 3:30. Simply because of that stretch from I-20 to Florence.
Yeah.
That's going to be so bad between 3:30 and 5:30. If you got to be down there at 6, you need to get a head start. Now, that was no jest.
No.
I mean, that people realize it is that bad. That project has had an excessive amount of overrun and on cost. So we're hoping that they're going to get it done sooner than later. But it has been a source of great frustration for all of us, I think.
Well, and hopefully, with hurricane season starting up again, we have not seen a big one, thank goodness. But, that's the main thorough to get up here to evacuate to central Mississippi, too. So.
Well, and in the mornings, too. I mean, just consider people trying to get up here for work.
Oh, yeah.
In the mornings as well. And I think a lot of the lost productivity of time, people trying to get to work, having to leave work early. We need people getting to their jobs efficiently, quickly, and getting home so they can be with their families. And that's just not a good, it's just not a good road.
No. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that they'll keep on crossing things over there.
It looks like they're getting close, a lot closer than they were. They're doing a lot of work on it now, and you go down through there now, and there's clearly 2 lanes that are open both ways, and you can tell that most of the way down through there that they've got the base put down, and there's just a couple places they've got to finish up. All the bridges are in, and they should be finishing that thing soon.
We hope.
We hope.
All right, so you kind of finally got back to a little sense of normalcy this session after remote and all kinds of the session that would never end in 2020 at the early part there. This session kind of went very smoothly. What are you most proud of that you got out this time?
Well, I would think there would be maybe 3 main things that we did. The budget is something that I've always been very conscious of. We when we took over in 2012, I guess, when Republicans finally gained a majority in the House of Representatives, we made a pledge then that we would be conservative with our spending. We would stay within our means. We're not going to spend more money than we bring in. And we're going to make sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayer money. 2016 was a tough year. We had to make cuts that year. Some practice of some of our predecessors was to just increase spending, take it from other sources, and raise fees and taxes and hope that the money came in. We said we weren't going to do that. And in 2016, we had to make cuts. And I bet most people don't even know that we made cuts. But we were true to our pledge to stay within our means. I think those conservative practices have helped us put Mississippi in the best financial shape that it's ever been in. And I say that not as a matter of opinion or politics, but I base that upon the numbers. Prior to the pandemic in 2020, we were in the best financial shape our state's ever been in. We had fully funded the rainy day fund. We had funded all of state government. We had $200 million in the bank. We had fixed the retirement system problem, which was not our own creation, Gene. That was the creation of the PERS board. But everything in financial obligation of government was satisfied. The pandemic hit, and we had $200 million extra in the bank. During the April and May and June of last year, we went down about 246 million, but we were able to weather the storm because we had money in the bank to do so. And since then, revenues have been up. This year, that brings me to this year, which is a year that we passed a very solid budget. We restored the cuts that were made. We did a teacher pay raise, which is kind of the second thing I would point to. Another 58 million or something like that for a teacher pay raise. I gave them another $1,000. So in the 10 years, I guess, in the 10 years that Republicans have been in the House of Representatives, our teachers have received almost $10,000 more dollars than they had in 2012. Each year, teachers get a $500 step pay raise. So you do that over 10 years, that's $5,000 right there. And then in 2015 or 16, we gave a $2,500 pay raise. And then in 2017 or 18, we gave another $1,500 pay raise. And this year we gave another $1,000 pay raise. And you add all that up, you come to almost $10,000. So proud of the fact that we're investing in education. We're trying to, I know that's important to the people of Pearl. And so we're doing what we can to help our teachers. Again, I always say we can never pay them enough. They do work that most people would not want to do, but they are out there, they're on the front lines, they're educating our kids. The city of Pearl, the county of Rankin benefits greatly from the work of their teachers. It's one reason people move here, for the schools, for the educational. And we want to support that. We want to give them the amount of money that we can possibly give to attract teachers, keep teachers, and reward them for the hard work that they're doing.
Well, that is one thing that the pandemic did teach us, is the importance of teachers.
Absolutely.
And how much they work so hard when we tried to teach our own kids the curriculum. Right. I really think that probably helped you get that passed.
And it may have. I mean, a lot of people realize that if the teacher wasn't doing it, they were having to do it, and they were ready to pay somebody else to do it. But the teachers were challenged last year to adjust quickly and go to virtual learning and go to sending assignments home through the internet and trying to stay on top of the education for those kids. And so we have to commend them for what they did last year. I'll tell you one humorous story. A friend of mine's a kindergarten teacher, and they decided, the school district where this particular person worked decided to do virtual learning for kindergarten kids.
Oh my.
And she said she clicked,
I know how that
she
went.
turned on, and the kids were more fascinated at making faces at one another than paying attention to her. And she said, let's count to 10, and one of them got up and ran around the room, and there's nothing she could do. The kid was at home doing his thing, you know. And so it just makes the point of how challenging it was, I think, for our teachers.
That is the one thing I am so proud of for what you guys have led us through in this state, is that our kids have been in class as much as humanly possible. You guys got them back to in-person learning, which is so important, not only educationally, but for their psychological growth and their development. I have to applaud you guys for everything that you've given these school districts the tools to be able to survive.
Well, and that, again, as you rightly point out, we want them back in school as quickly as possible. A lot of benefits besides just the education, the social side, the issues beyond just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
And also lets the mom and daddies go back to work.
And that's
More important, yes, absolutely.
And lets them go back to work. And so we see a lot of states around the country that are still doing at-home learning, and the parents have just about had enough of that. So unfortunately in Mississippi, we're not there still. We've moved on.
Excellent, excellent stuff. Well, one of the things I know that you want to move on to is eliminating the state income tax.
Correct.
It did not make it out this time. just as Senator Kirby has told us, kind of, I don't want to say the opposition, but at least from the Senate side, they just didn't think it was enough detail in it yet for them to understand. But that's going to be your top priority when we get back in January.
Well, that's exactly right. And let's talk a little bit about the detail if we can. First of all, I want to commend Gene for being very supportive of this. Never had to question where he was on this. From day one, Gene's been supportive of eliminating this income tax. We kind of start with two basic premises, which I think everybody will agree on. Number one is putting money back into the pockets of the taxpayers is a good thing. Letting people keep more of their hard-earned money is a good thing. Under our plan, the first $40,000 of income is exempt from taxation. So for each of us, when we get our paycheck, the first $40,000 is not taxed. That affects about 48% of the people of the state of Mississippi. So right out of the gate, about 50% of the people of the state will pay no more income tax. They get to keep that. What you're currently paying on that first $40,000 is about $1,500. So you're giving, if your first $40,000 of income, you're giving $1,500 of that to the state of Mississippi. Our proposal is to let you keep that this year and the next year and the next and the next from now on. That's $40,000 per individual, per taxpayer, $80,000 per couple. So for a married couple, that's $3,000 back into their pockets, what they can spend on their kids, they can spend on providing for their families. That's going to result in more economic prosperity in the state of Mississippi. A couple of economists have taken this, they've looked at it. They say that if we eliminate the income tax, it will result in a $371 million increase in our gross domestic product in the state of Mississippi. That's money going back into the economy. If I give somebody $3,000, they're probably going to go spend it. They're going to pay debt. They're going to buy stuff for their families. They're going to spend those dollars. And so when we let taxpayers keep their money, that stimulates the economy. That results in economic prosperity and economic growth. So that's the first premise, is letting the taxpayer keep their money.
But immediately that's one of those, and I don't want to cut you off, but okay, so where does the backfill come? Because we still have bills to pay in the state, right?
We're going to get that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
We're going to get to that. The beauty of letting the taxpayer keep their money is also that they get to have the power of the purchase put into their hands. Right now, the government takes income tax from you and the government decides how to spend those dollars. This lets the taxpayer decide how he or she wants to spend those dollars. And if they don't want to pay the sales tax on a particular item, they don't have to buy it. You don't want to pay the sales tax on a bass boat? Don't go buy the bass boat, or buy a cheaper bass boat or a cheaper automobile. But it puts the power of the purchase in the hands of the citizens, which as a conservative, as a Republican, I think that's the right place for the money to reside. The second thing, the premise, if you will, for this plan is that most tax experts that we've talked to, economists and tax policy people, will tell you that a system based upon consumption taxes is a stronger and better system than a system based on income taxes. And if you look at our surrounding states or the states across the country like Texas and Florida and Tennessee, all of whom have economies that are booming, they don't have an income tax. And so what we're talking about here is posturing ourselves in a way that will result in economic prosperity in the state. Move away from the income tax, move more toward consumption taxes. Sales tax is a consumption tax. An excise tax is a consumption tax. User fees, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So to the extent that we can, let's move away from the income and move towards consumption. So as you rightly point out, if right now in the state of Mississippi, our budget's about $6 billion. 1.7 of that, almost a third of our budget, is generated by income tax. So if we're going to cut off $1.7 billion of our budget, we're going to have to replace that revenue somehow. Under our proposal, we increase the sales tax 2.5 cents. Right now, our sales tax is 7%. Our surrounding states, to give you some perspective, Alabama's 9.2, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee are all 9.5. we're still 7%. So by raising that sales tax to 9.5%, we're basically coming in line with our surrounding states. The difference is, however, is that they all still have income tax, except for Tennessee, and we're getting rid of ours. So that still puts us at a competitive advantage. Well, then people say, well, you're just swapping money. You're giving me back my income tax, but you're taking it back out on the sales tax. And that's not true. And this is what I've been trying to preach the whole time. Do the math. Don't trust what is political naysayers will tell you. Don't trust the red herring that so many people want to throw out there about how it's going to hurt you. Simply do the math. Why does this work? Well, right now, not everybody, let me back up. Everybody in this state benefits from the services that government provides. Government provides education, we provide police force, we supply fire protection, we supply schools, on and on and on. The services that government provides, in fairness, everybody ought to help pay for those services. Everybody who benefits from the police protection and the fire protection and the free schools and the roads and the bridges and everything else that we do ought to help pay for that. But right now, not everybody's helping pay for that. Only those people who are paying income tax are paying that $1.7 billion, and that's not everybody. You got a lot of people who are in a cash-only business that are not filing income tax. You got drug dealers out there who are not paying an income tax, but they're buying stuff. So when you move to a sales tax, you are broadening your base of taxpayers. Not everybody pays income tax, but everybody pays a sales tax. And so when you do that, you're spreading that burden among a broader class of people, a broader number of people. Therefore, the burden is less on each individual person. Also, you pick up your out-of-staters who are not paying income tax. People who come here to visit who don't pay income tax in Mississippi, but when they come here and they buy stuff, now they're helping pay the sales tax. Or they are paying sales tax.
And in the grand scheme of things, when you talk about it, everybody says, oh, well, taxes are going to go up. Ultimately, 2.5 cents on a dollar is not really a lot.
No, not at all.
If you really think in the big picture, right?
Not at all. And again, we've done the math. Let's take that $40,000 threshold that I'm talking about. We immediately exempt the first $40,000 of income. That's $1,500 back into the pocket of every taxpayer. $3,000 back into the pocket of a married couple, all right? In order to spend that $1,500 at 2.5 cents, that individual who's making $40,000 has got to spend $61,000 to wipe out that 2.5 cent increase. You following me?
Yes, sir.
So I'm giving you $1,500 back. How much are you going to have to spend to eat up that $1,500 at 2.5 pennies? It's $61,000. They're never going to do it. They're never going to get there. So regardless of the increase in sales tax, the amount of money you get back in your pocket exceeds that amount every time. So it's not swapping money. And we've done that. I've had people send, well, not me, but I have a friend who is a numbers guy, and he's had people send him their financial information and said, hey, how's this going to affect me? And he said in every instance, the individual gets more money back into their pocket. Now, in 5 years, our proposal is to increase that exemption from $40,000 to $80,000. That's almost 80% of the people of the state. So in 5 years, 80% of the people of the state of Mississippi would pay no more income tax. And then we phase out the balance of that over a 10-year period of time. So our plan is a combination of increasing your sales taxes, but also eliminating the income tax through growth. We've established a cap on spending, which is the most conservative cap in the country, of 1.5%. So what we would do is take the first 1.5% of increase each year and say that's going to go to government spending, and anything above that goes to wiping out the income tax. Now, over the last 10 years, we've had a 3% growth, 3.2 actually, average over the last 10 years. So if we maintain that, then in 10 years, we get rid of the income tax. And nobody pays income tax.
In another phase, as you move to go up to $80,000, Do you foresee any kind of bump then again in sales tax, or just staying at the 2.5?
No. It's a one-time 2.5 cents is all we're doing, and 1 penny generates $400 million. So that's how we get to the 2.5 cents. We go 1 penny is 400 million, 2 pennies is 800 million, 2.5 pennies is $1 billion. So we eliminate of that 1.7 billion dollar hole. We eliminate $1 billion of that, or refill $1 billion of that through the sales tax increase, and then the balance we're phasing out over a period of 10 years through growth. You want to say something? Grocery tax is another aspect of this. We're cutting the grocery tax in half. Right now it's 7%. Our proposal is to eliminate or to cut that down to 3.5%. So this is how it would affect.
But then if you're cutting grocery tax, and again, just for the folks that don't understand, what taxes will be new or raised for services outside of groceries?
It's the same. So the whole you're going to end up creating is about $1.9 billion. So the grocery tax generates about $400 million a year. So if we cut it in half, you're talking about another $200 million that we've got to find.
And that will come from?
The increase in sales tax and growth. There are some other taxes that are included, tax on tobacco, but again, consumption tax, sales tax on automobiles, which generates about $125 million. But, and here, let me touch on that. A lot of people say, well, my gracious, you're going to go up on my automobile tax 2.5. Right now, a lot of people don't realize this. Many industries receive a favorable tax structure already. Farmers are only taxed at 1.5%. Manufacturers are only taxed at 1.5%. Automobiles are only taxed at 5%. General sales tax is 7%. So what we're proposing is to take that automobile from 5 to 7.5. And people are saying, well, wait a minute, now you're gonna block me out of getting an automobile. No, again, let's do the math. Sit down and do the math. Person's making $40,000 a year, or let's just say every one of us gets the exemption of $40,000 a year. So most of your purchasing statistics, the statistics that I've seen from around the country, people buy a new automobile about once every 7 years. When I say new, I'm talking about new to them. Could be a used car. Philip Gunn can only afford used cars, and I usually pay somewhere around $25,000 for a new car, or a used car that's new to me. The tax on that, by going up 2.5 cents, is $450. Now, I'm not walking away from a $20,000 vehicle
over $400,
over $450.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm Gene Newman and I can afford a $60,000 vehicle. All right. The tax on that is $1,500. The increase in tax.
And if you can afford a $60,000 car, you can afford $1,500.
You're not going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
But let's keep in mind, if you are that person who buys a car once every 7 years, I'm giving you $1,500 back this year. I'm giving you $1,500 back next year, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. Is that 7 nexts? So $1,500 times the next 7 years is $10,000. So not only am I giving you back $10,000 to cover that $450 increase in tax, I'm also positioning you to buy a much more expensive and nicer vehicle. So when the automobile industry kind of understands that, they're like, well, wait a minute, that actually benefits us. Yes, it does, because again, back to my very first statement, putting more money in the pocket of the citizen is a good thing. I'm giving that citizen back $10,000 over the next 7 years, and he or she can then take and that's per person. That's $20,000 per married couple. They can then go buy themselves a nicer vehicle and pay that $450 tax increase. So again, in every scenario we've run the numbers, it appears that people end up with more money in their pocket.
So what is the obstacle, the hurdle you believe you'll have to get over in the 22 session?
I don't see any obstacle or hurdle. This plan has been out there for almost 2.5, 3 months now.
That you had the opposition here at the end of the 21 session. Again, from what you're hearing from the pushback, I guess, in the end of the session to what you're going to face when you come back in 22?
I would say there wasn't any pushback. It just was the explanation given was we didn't have time to study it. We didn't have time to analyze it. Now, we want to make sure that the Senate is on board, and I'm going to work with another Rankin County and Josh Harkins during what we call the off season. That's between now and January, to work with him to make sure that his ideas are incorporated, to make sure that he understands what we are proposing, and to see if we can't in some way come to a plan that all of us can get behind. The only thing, let me address the retirees, and you and I were talking about that off camera. That has been another, I call it red herring, that's been thrown out there. There's been some effort to scare the retirees, people who are not paying income tax, that this is going to somehow hurt them. That is not true. That is not true. When I move around and I talk to the retirees that I know, and I say, what do you spend your money on? Most of them will tell you medicines, groceries, home, insurance. Okay, none of those things are subject to sales tax except for the groceries. Okay, medicines are not subject to a sales tax. Gasoline is not subject to a sales tax in Mississippi. You pay an excise tax on that. Your mortgage is not subject to a tax. Your insurance is not subject to a sales tax. So when you tell them that, and then you can see the light bulb come on. Oh, okay. So then you have to say, what are you buying that is subject to the sales tax? And most of them will tell you groceries and grandchildren. Okay? How much are you paying on groceries a week? Most of them that I've talked to, and this is no official poll here, all right? This is just Philip Gunn moving around talking to the people that I know. But I mean, I've talked to 12, 15, 20 people, and almost the uniform answer is $100 a week. $100 a week on groceries. So you do that times 52 weeks of the year, and you do the sales tax on that, they're currently paying about $360 in sales tax on groceries. But I'm cutting the grocery tax in half under this plan. So I'm giving you back $180. So,
and you're still not paying income tax.
They're not paying any income tax. They're not paying anything, but I'm giving them $180 back. Now, when they sit down and they calculate what they're buying that's subject to the sales tax, you take that $40,000 threshold again that we're talking about exempting. If the labor statistics and the purchasing statistics of the U.S. government are right, it shows that as I said in the beginning, about a fourth of what we spend our money on is subject to sales tax. So if you take that $10,000 figure, a person that's a family, a couple that's living on $40,000 a year, I'm giving them, if they're paying a fourth of that $40,000 on sales tax stuff, then the increase that they're going to experience is $250. So on the one hand, they're going up $250. On the other hand, they're getting back $180. Worst case scenario is they lose $70 a year. And then when you tell them, can you absorb, that's less than $10 a month.
Yeah.
Can you absorb that? Every one of them says absolutely. And then I say, are you willing to give that gift to your grandkids? Because you said you're buying groceries and grandkids. Any greater gift you could give to your grandkids than to eliminate the income tax. Imagine if all of us, none of us, had to pay an income tax when we started our careers, and we took that money and we set it aside. How much money would we have today? You can give that same gift to your grandchildren if you by supporting this. So my point is, worst case scenario, a retiree may not reap the benefit of an income tax, but no one is being cast into poverty. No one is being thrown into the poorhouse. And so anyone who says, oh, we're worried about the retirees, I say that's a red herring. I have yet to find any retiree who sits down and calmly does the math, sits at their kitchen table, figures out how they spend their money. No one is being cast into poverty under this plan, even those that don't pay an income tax.
Well, it sounds excellent. I just hope that everybody sees it the same way when we get back into session.
Well, I do too. I do too. I will say that there's been a lot of thought put into this plan. We worked with a lot of economists who national economists who have helped us craft this plan. Putting it together was complicated, but understanding it is not complicated. It's fairly straightforward, and if anybody has a concern, please call my office. If they are worried about their own individual situation, call. We will walk them through the plan. We will give them personal attention to figure out how it affects them. My number is 601-359-3300. That is the main number at the Speaker's office. We'll be glad to sit down and walk everyone through it. But like I said, it's been out there for 2.5, 3 months now, and no one has been able to tell me why it is a bad policy. There have been political objections and there have been self-serving objections, but there's been no policy reason stated as to why it's not a workable plan.
Well, we will keep a close eye on that as we enter the 22 session, and my goodness, 6 months you'll be firing up, getting ready to jump back in there. My goodness.
Almost, that's right. It's a lot better than it was last year, though. We had 2 months to recover.
Yeah, you went all the way to October. Final question for you about COVID. Are you pleased with where we stand with our health department vaccinations and where we are with new cases really staying low?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with what it appears is that the winter months are behind us. Many people have had it. Gene and I joked that in the house, everybody's either had the COVID or they've had the vaccine.
Or both.
We are, or both. I was in that category too. We're very pleased and proud that we did not have any outbreak in the house this year. And so it looks like the numbers around the state are diminishing. That's good news. I encourage people to get the vaccine. I know some have concerns about it. I took it. It didn't affect me in an adverse way.
Which one did you get?
Moderna.
Moderna, and you got?
I got Moderna.
And I got Moderna as well. That seems to be the big one here in Mississippi now is Moderna, Pfizer. The Johnson & Johnson just got turned back on.
Did it?
And you know, I understand the apprehension that people have that's the single shot, but supply seems to be outweighing demand now. Have we gotten to the point where you're concerned that whoever's going to get the vaccine has already gotten it?
You know, I don't know. All I can speak to are those that I've talked to. I've had some friends who have expressed concern about taking the vaccine. They just kind of want to wait and watch and see what happens. Some of them just don't think they need it. But many people have gone ahead and gotten it. What could it hurt? You know, that's kind of their attitude. So I took it when my age group was called, and I hope it prevents me from getting it again.
Well,
let me say something about that. One of the issues that seems to be occurring with people not getting the vaccine is there's still a lot of people that don't understand how to sign up for it, that don't know how to register to get the shots. And they need to call it, you know, if they don't have a way to get online and figure it out, they need to call the Department of Health, and they will call a local health office, call your local doctor, whoever, but call somebody and they'll help you get registered for it and get in to get the vaccine. I think that's a big issue. A lot of people that I've talked to seem to be that way. They say, well, I don't know how to do it, and so they need to call the Department of Health and let them help them get signed up for it.
I think they could probably get same-day service, seeing how Trustmark Park has gone these last week or so, that there's no lines at Trustmark Park anymore.
Right.
So you call up, you'd probably send you out there the same day.
Yeah.
Speaking of Trustmark Park, we look forward to having you for some Mississippi Braves baseball starting up on May the 4th. First minor league season in 2 years.
Yes, I'm excited about that. I don't know if you know my family history. Gene does, and Ray Rogers did. I have twin boys who both played college baseball. Mm-hmm. One played minor league baseball, and we got to play out at Trustmark Park many times. I have an 18-year-old son who is also going to play baseball in college when he graduates. He made the All-Star team, which may be out here. I don't know if they play that game out here or not anymore. But Trustmark Park is a fantastic facility. I will tell you that I traveled a lot with my sons playing college baseball and my one son who played minor league ball. And I've been to a lot of ballparks, and there is none better than Trustmark Park in Pearl, Mississippi. It is a jewel. We're very fortunate to have it. It's a tremendous family atmosphere. I bring people out here all the time, guests, visitors. We have events out here. We have a legislative event. My law firm comes out here. People of Pearl need to be very proud of that facility. It is one of the nicest facilities in the country.
Well, we can't wait to see the new crop of young Braves that come through. You know, right now we're seeing everybody that's on the Major League Braves played here. You know, right. Acuna, Albies, Swanson, Ian Anderson. We can't wait to see the new crop, and they'll be here May the 4th.
Good. I look forward to that.
All right. Well, we thank you for taking the time.
Oh, man, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Great platform, good fellowship. Thank y'all for letting me be here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, very much for coming out.
Well, and thank you, Gene, for setting this up.
Yes, sir.
Keep up the good fight. You're going into year 3.
And let me also say to the people in Pearl that if you have a legislative issue that you'd like to discuss, call me, come see me, find me. I'm always around Pearl, but you know, now is the time, if you have an idea that you want to pursue, to get that idea into words that we can do something with, because it needs to be in the legal office in the fall so that they can get it drafted to be able to be ready for the next session.
All the bright ideas. Get them into
That's
Gene
right.
Newman's office.
Yeah, they call me.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, we will be back with more This Week in Pearl.
WPBP and PMB TV would like to thank our latest sponsor, Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is located at 403 Riverwind Drive. With over 32 different types of donuts, they can take care of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can now choose from their menu of sandwiches, wraps, and muffins. And don't forget the drinks. Along with coffee, espressos, and lattes for your morning drive, they also have soft drinks, cold brew coffees, and smoothies. The Pearl Pirates run on Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, I'd like to thank our Speaker of the House, Mr. Philip Gunn, and for Representative Gene Newman for coming in. Fascinating conversation. We don't get a chance to sit down, for that long a period of time in this kind of forum to be able to listen to all the issues that are out there. And I think it's good from time to time. In the coming weeks, we hope to have the Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, as well as our Governor, Tate Reeves, to be able to come in while they're out of session so that we can kind of set the stage for what's going to happen in 2022. Reminder for you, coming up on May 3rd starts the spring cleanup here in the city of Pearl. If you get your limbs and leaves out to the curbside, Public Works will be making a sweep of the area, one end of the city to the other, to pick up all of your vegetation. And if you have larger items, things like appliances and furniture, remember that from May 3rd until May 15th, the city landfill, located just off of Highway 80, right there behind the Dorisberry Farmers Market, you can take that compact to the compactor free of charge as long as you show a resident ID. You have to be a resident of Pearl to get the free use of our landfill. Commercial and contractor rates still apply, but for residents, it is free. So remember, spring cleanup from May 3rd until May 15th. That'll do it for this edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm Greg Flynn. Remember, the city of Pearl is the jewel of the crossroads.